And our tape recorder is on. Natrona County Commission, January 21st. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bertolio.
Here.
Commissioner Chadwick.
Here.
Commissioner Mill.
Here.
Commissioner Kaufman.
Here.
Chairman Hendry.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first we have the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Now we have a public hearing on Resolution 03-20, Transfer of Funds. Is there a report?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, on Resolution -03-20, there's several transfers tonight. First off being $46,177.69 from the balance sheet cash reserve going into a few lines, various lines. And this is for a portion of the natural resource plan update for planning and zoning, and also a hiring recruitment effort for the sheriff's office, and detention center joint powers board expenditures as far as a tilting kettle and a washer up at the detention center. So that's what that encompasses. The next is $215,106.05 from unanticipated revenue. That again is across various accounts. The majority of these reimbursements are for grant expenditures through the sheriff's office. And the final transfer is from 1% cash reserve for $1,135,301.15. This is being transferred into our reserve project line. These projects were projects that were approved during our fiscal year budget process that we have deemed to take out of the 1% cash reserve account. Any questions?
Questions for staff? Okay. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of Resolution 03-20, Transfer of Funds. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of Natrona County Commission, and other applicable laws. I would ask that those individuals who wish to address the commission approach the lectern and give your full name and address. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? The third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Third and final time, is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition? I will close the hearing on Resolution 03-20. Is there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 03-20.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Next, we have public comment. Or anyone in the public wish to come and address the commission? Going once? Oop, there's somebody.
I couldn't resist. Tracy Lamont, 9855 Crimson Dawn Road. I just give you a quick little report here. I missed the Parks Board meeting. I'm glad I did, from the sounds of things, over the discussion on the bridle trail. And I appreciate the posture that Brooke and Eric took and the rest of the Parks Board. So there's, Mrs. Toops, she definitely is affected. I found a map that we had posted on the Casper Mountain Landowners Association. I think the county paid for a survey for the lower half. So when we're talking the bridle trail, we need to be talking the lower half of the bridle trail and the upper half of the bridle trail, as near as I can tell. The lower half is pretty much contained within Rotary Park. I don't know, or Mr. Reed, I'm trying to dig through some of the stuff I found in the courthouse today, but Eric has a bunch of this, and whatever I'm finding, the message I wanted to deliver to you guys, I'm delivering to Eric, so we don't have to dig this stuff out 2 and 3 times on him, but he'll have stuff in his files they've already found. The other suggestion that we came up with here is to get overlays for township and range 32 by 79, the overlays for section 5, 8, and I believe 18. They're all in the line on Garden Creek. And let's identify who all those private property owners are, because I can guarantee you this bike group and their intentions are well founded. Personally, I have no problem with them trying to get all the way to Hogadon, but when there's private property rights involved, whether it's mine or anybody else's, I have as much right as any other citizen to come up here and speak out in defense of my neighbors. And, what turned me on to all of this is, years ago I worked with a couple of, renowned maintenance master mechanics associations as a consultant with them. And, I was in the sales and marketing side of things, and they told me, don't tell me, show me. So when we hear hearsay, that goes a long ways, and I think that's where all this has gotten blown out of proportion, and we need to get it back down to facts. So we start with the overlays. We plot the first half of the Braille Trail that the county, I think, has already paid for a survey that was funded, as near as I can tell, by the Joint Powers Board or the Recreation Parks and Planning Board or whatever they call it. And that's already established. But Mrs. Toops, one of the dog legs of the bridle trailhead itself is on her. So for one of the bikers to advocate she had no business talking about it is poo-pah. So the same thing with Howard Chrisman. I have talked with him. He called me after he read some of the article in Oil City News, and he worked with Mike Hagler. They took a look because there was a rock slide up there to where the trail used to be on Rotary Park. And it needs to be relocated back to Rotary Park, so he gave temporary use of his property, but no one's ever met that into the agreement. So that needs to be taken care of. The other thing is, he did inform me he's tired of fighting. He's going to cash out on his property up there, so you might have a new landowner you're going to have to deal with unless you guys choose to buy it from him, which is another subject. And I'm going to go a little bit longer here with some good ideas, okay? So I'm trying to avert a free-for-all come the 28th of this month at the next work session with the bicycle group and the landowners. So I thought I'd get you all briefed up here in advance. But anyhow, he's cashing out his California land, and his mountain land is going to move up to Sheridan County. So I think he's just tired of the hassle. And we shouldn't have to ever get to that point. This thing all started over hearsay. So I think that one can be worked out. When the snow melts, I don't think we should make any firm decisions on the 28th. Just get the feedback. Let's keep moving forward with another work session. And Doug Irvine has spoken on a multitude of occasions, and he's a wealth of knowledge. He has as much business speaking for the benefit of his neighbors if they hired him as a consultant on it. So for him to be chastised, along with Mrs. Toops for speaking out in the absence of Mary Peterson, which is John Doyle's daughter, and they're affected. So the next step in this whole thing, if they get this ramrodded through, they being the bicyclers, they want to go to the next step, going south up through all the other private owners, landowners, all the way on up through to Hogadon. So, they're threatening prescriptive easements, implied easements. That's all fair and well, but let's put ourselves in the shoes of those private landowners. Let's do this and do it right. Let's try to negotiate with all of them. Let's not try to cram it down their throats. So the diplomacy here has sucked wind. I got to tell you that straight up from my observation. And you know how crass I can be, but I can tell you what, I knew how not to handle this one on them. So with that said, I'd like to see us work towards a long-range goal here, tapping into Susie McMurray, her trust, and some of these other large trusts here in town, the Trues, and so on and so forth. And let's get a county land parks trust established. And let's start taking some of that money that they're collecting through the Joint Powers Board. I mean, if we came up with the money to buy the 200 acres, didn't we buy Garland's property up there? I was told that. There was 200 acres, and then we bought Ruff Rolfus's property too, right? So there's a lot of things we need to just start with a clean slate here based on what Eric has in the files and with what we're digging up here, with what Doug has, what the bicyclers have. And Eric, my only thing with sharing you all this stuff, make sure the bicycle groups get copies of it too, but they need to pay the going rate for it just like the rest of us do, okay? And let's just try to do something constructive rather than tear one another apart. I don't think you'd ever hear that out of me, did you? Or I just said that. So what made me really suspicious, Dick O'Hearn got up here, bless his heart, he's gone, can't defend himself, but when he told you guys as a managing body, less the three of you here, that he had talked to all the landowners on the Hazelton Sawmill Trail about running from our double gate all the way to Ponderosa Park, and you two will remember this, because I challenged him on that. He said, oh yeah, I've talked to all the landowners. What I do, I got home, I got on the telephone. No one knew a thing about it. So that's where all this gibberish got started. And I'm not going to name it. Keith Tyler I will throw out there. He's the one that got in the pissing contest with Howard Chrisman, and here we all sit. No one's a winner in this deal. I'll close with this. Mr. Dalton, he says right in his easement, non-motorized, and part of the trail goes across Mr. Dalton's property. It's surveyed right here. A bicycle with a battery. I'd love to own one. I've made that. I've gone on public record here. I'll go on it again. But it's a motorized vehicle, just with a battery. So here's the comparison I'm going to make to you. When we had snowmobiles running right through Skunk Hollow, right through the dead set of them, what they call the maze at the cross-country ski system, I called Tyler up and I said, look, I'm going to lay my neck on the line here with the motorheads, and I'm part of that group. But I said, I'm also reasonable. We can't have snowmobiles going 80, 90 miles an hour through a cross-country ski trail. Let's just remove them out of there. The word is compromise. Somebody had to spell it on the board for me when we went through that at the Parks Department. And don't laugh, my spelling's atrocious, thank God for spell check. But anyhow, long story short, when we're talking bicycles coming down that steep descending decline from Hogadon, if they don't have a bell or a horn or they don't bell it out, and somebody's walking down the trail the opposite way, or you got kids walking on that trail, we're just inviting an accident. So it started out with a bridle trail. Doesn't say bridle and bicycle trail. They had bicycles back when they made that a bridle trail in 1935 to 1938, part of it. I don't think it went all the way to the top originally. We're still trying to get that dug out and sorted out. So the bottom line is here, I think we need to compromise with the bicyclers and say, just back off and leave these poor people alone here in the bridle trail area and leave that to the horses and the hikers and the joggers and the sightseers. Let's move the bicycles and let's get them. I don't know where they keep coming up with this exclusivity. I mean, we went out and we cut TP Canyon, the snowmobilers did, and it's a multiple use bicycle, hiking, hunting, snowmobiling, ATV, side-by-sides. That's multiple use. But you can't mix them on a ski trail very easily. The other good news is, and I think there were some people sitting on your board that played an integral part of this. You're going to fall out of your chair for us. But they held a snowmobile race at the biathlon range this weekend, and I felt very humbled to be invited over there to be the flag person on them. So don't fall out of your chair. And Brozier was the one that put that together. And one of your commissioners said, Tracy, you're going to have to take the flak for me if the neighbors holler. I said, that's taken care of on them. So there's multiple use. The biathloners were all over in Austria. And, we're building a community. We're back to where we should have been all this time along. So at that, I'm done.
Okay,
I promised the deputy, his dinner's on the table, so he needs to go home and eat. So let's go
all
home.
right.
It's fair enough? Thank you.
Sounds good. I still got an hour and a half. Thanks anyway. Anyone else wishing to speak to us? Come on up.
My name is Jeff Long, and I live at 2111 Kingsborough Road. I wanted to talk about the cell phone ban at the Townsend Center. I think it's a really bad idea. I first started looking into it and found a lot of issues with it. I went down to the courthouse to talk to the deputies. That's how I started it. And after talking with the deputy, asked him if I had a cell phone and I went past the guard station, what would happen? What would I be charged with? I couldn't get a real straight answer out of him. The best answer I got was state codes 66302 and 66303. Basically, it's obstructive and disruptive conduct within a government facility, prohibited, and refusing to desist or remove oneself from the facility. The point I made with him is that the very next code says that I can do that. All I got to do is say, I'm press. Every citizen has that right. So after that interaction, I called the undersheriff and talked to him. He acknowledged that that was an issue. And then with him, I asked him, so what would happen? He told me that the deputies would identify me, give my information to the judge, and the judge would hold me in contempt. I pointed out that he couldn't do that. Unless I've broken a law, he can't ID me. So then I talked to the sheriff. The sheriff said it was right, that he couldn't do it. And since then, I went back to the courthouse and I see that now that there's a resolution from the county. And there's still a problem with this. And after I got done talking to the sheriff, I still see the problems, and I've tried contacting the judge. Wanted to talk to the judge. She won't talk to me. So here I am. I'm telling you, you still have issues with it, because with the judge's order, she's exempted pretty much everybody in government, all the lawyers, county clerks, everybody but us citizens. And there's a lot of issues with that. First of all, it violates the ADA. You have people that use cell phones as an assistive device. And there's two on YouTube that are really prominent. One's called Blind Justice. Feel free to look it up. Nice guy. He tries to work with everybody he can. Right now he's in North Carolina and he's having all kinds of problems, and they're going to get sued. There's no way around it. There's another guy in Portland who's just the opposite. He loves to just be the biggest pain in the butt there is. And he sued the Portland, the city of Portland, for the same thing. Because he claims to have a disability and uses the ADA. So I'm telling you, you still have issues. I don't understand why cell phones can't be allowed in the courthouse. In the courtrooms, I can understand that, to a point. But there's a lot of issues, because with the advent of the cell phone and the cameras and the recording that goes on with them, people are smuggling them into courthouses, and they're catching the judges doing horrible things. I've heard recordings in courthouses where the judge won't let the defendant even speak. He can't even defend himself. I've heard judges totally deny everybody or deny defendants their constitutional rights in court. But nobody knows about it because only the courts control the recordings. I don't understand. It's just, there's a lot of issues. Another one is, if I was to go to court and try to defend myself, the lawyers have an advantage over me, because they can take in cell phones, they can take in computers, and I can't. It gives them an advantage. I don't understand what you're trying to hide. I mean, it'd be different if we were Chicago, but we're Wyoming. I mean, we don't have issues. We hardly have jury trials practically. And that's the only reason I see to have a ban on cell phones. When I talked to security, they told me the only reason that that's in place is because a witness in a trial gave testimony, and came outside and contacted another witness on their phone. If that's against the law, prosecute them, punish them, don't punish us. That's not right. And as far as with the judge, I mean, it's ridiculous. I thought I could redress my grievances. I can't with the judge. What's my remedy? What can I do? I can't do anything. Do you realize the powers the judges have? It's insane. And if they do something wrong, it's kind of like the police. They'll investigate themselves, and they'll carry on from there, which means usually nothing. I mean, right now there was, well, it's been a while, I guess, but there was a district judge that decided that the money she collected from court, she decided nobody else needed to look at it, so she closed the account and put it just in her name. And it took the city, I don't know how many months in legal action, just to get access to see where the funds were going. I mean, we should have transparency. We should be able to know what's going on. I don't understand why we hide it. Also, I came, I don't know, 6, 8 months ago and talked about the fireworks thing. I don't like that either. I come in, I talked to you guys about it. You listed the International Fire Code. So I've talked to the acting fire marshal and asked him questions about the permitting process. He told me there was no bond, no insurance, and no cost. Said, great, I'd like to fill out an application. I'd like to get a permit. He told me I couldn't. The reason he couldn't is because I'm not a government agency. I don't understand that. I've looked in that International Fire Code. It's a monster. I've looked it all over, up and down. It doesn't say that's just for government. I'm beginning to think we don't have rights. I'm seeing all kinds where governments, they're writing all kinds of rules and excluding themselves, but us pesky citizens, we don't get access. The state of Wyoming, trust me, I've set off 1 million pounds of explosives. And just to give you an idea what that's like, we had scientists from Los Alamos come up because the seismics are just like a nuclear detonation. The county doesn't trust me with a sparkler. All I want to do is celebrate my freedoms with my 4-year-old grandchildren. Sparklers, the little tanks that go around the ground, I'm not talking mortar shells. I just want to do that on my own property. I can't. I can do it where I came from, in another county in Wyoming. We don't have this issue. To be honest, I think it's because we're not that lazy. You know what? If there's people causing problems, the police go, they investigate, they charge them. We don't even get that here. I mean, the rights are taken from me. I don't get it. I mean, I'm beginning to feel like Animal Farm, where all animals are equal, except some animals are more equal than others. And I'll warn you, this International Fire Code, it's a monster. I don't think you guys have looked at it. Because it's not just talking about fireworks. And I'm trying to work with you guys. But when I tell people, everybody I know about what I'm doing, what's going on, it's funny because I get 2 responses. About 80% of the people say, you should just go do it. You should just walk into that courthouse, get arrested, and then sue the county. The other 20% tell me, you better be careful. The government will come get you. What's that say? Those are the only 2 responses I get. All I want is my freedom. I don't understand what if they're hiding at the courthouse. If I have something I want to go take to the county clerk, I'd like to take my phone in so that I can prove I turned in the paperwork. I can't do that. I have no way to prove that I've acted in a certain way.
You can go to the county clerk. It's the clerk of district court that you can't.
In the Townsend Center, I can't. I can't go past security. So if I have an issue there, when I went to take the letter, I sent a letter to the judge asking to talk to her, gave her the points. These are the things that I'd like to talk about. I'm not hiding anything. I'm trying to work with them. The response I got was no. I couldn't take my phone up to show that I turned in a letter. I don't know what's happening around here. It's not just here. Look what's happening in Virginia right now. I mean, we've had our problems here too. I mean, wasn't that long ago, I remember a county commissioner sicking code enforcement on people. When I talked to the sheriff, it was, oh, it'll never happen here. It does happen here. It can happen here. I don't want it to. I don't want to have to sue the county. I'd rather just work with you guys. But I feel like I'm getting no choice. Everywhere I go, I'm getting this wall, and the wall is, I'm government, you're a pesky citizen, go away.
Well, you know, I don't know whether that was quite the attitude. The judges ruled that courthouse, and that, because it's a complete separate courthouse.
Now, I've looked up the
And-
laws,
Well, and
understand.
they don't want any recordings. If we didn't have smartphones that you could record on, might be a different matter. But you can take pictures, you can take movies, you can record. The only recording that they want in those courtrooms are the court recorders and that recording of what happened in that courtroom.
I understand, and
So that's where it is, and if you allow them in the building, then they end up seeping into the courtroom.
but have you asked why? Why? The only real good reason is to protect jurors. Understand that. But-
Well, and to
but-
protect the defendants and everybody else in that courtroom, they don't want pictures in there,
You
not
can't
just the
audio
jury.
record either. I can't go in there and audio record, even though it's a public hearing.
You can go in person, just don't take your cell phone.
You can't, yeah, well, you can't take a communication device, is how they
Right.
got it termed. But here again, there's other issues. I mean, lawyers are getting a better advantage than me.
Lawyers can't take them in there either.
They can.
With the express written consent of the judge, I think. We've had attorneys try to do it, and they've said no. So if they have to have it for their case, they may be able to, but I think they're all banned. I'm banned. If I go in there, I'm on the court security, that committee up there, I can't pack a cell phone in.
Well, and here again, you guys are going to be citizens at some point. You're going to have to live like the rest of us.
Well, I'm living that way now. I can't pack a cell phone in there, and I'm chairman of the county commission, so I'm right with you. Those are the rules.
Here again, I think it's kind of ridiculous, because if anybody you should be able to trust, I would think you would be one. Just like with fireworks, I think I kind of qualify.
Okay.
So, anyway, that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the commission? It's time for commissioner comments. Commissioner Kaufman.
So I have the pleasure of sitting on the Amoco Reuse Joint Powers Board, and they have been in a lease with their golf carts for many years, and that lease was up. So they actually, I think, in time for this next season, we'll have some new GPS-enabled golf carts as part of the amenities available at Three Crowns. So that board continues to do a lot of good work and be good stewards of that land and the development there. So it's been a joy to serve on, but that's kind of a neat thing that the community will be able to experience this summer.
Okay. So are they going to auction off the old carts? And-
They sold them back, sold them to someone, but no. So no options for you, Chairman.
I wanted to ride upstairs in one. Commissioner Chadwick.
The NEPA rules are being rewritten. National Environmental Protection Act. And one of the more interesting things that's coming out of that is that they're doing away with cumulative effects on these environmental impact statements. i.e., a pipeline being built, they will no longer have to do a in-depth study, a study at all, on the usage of that gas in homes, in power plants, in manufacturing. That will no longer be a requirement. And of course, all the environmentalists are throwing a fit. All the, if you will, all the businesses are going, yay, we don't have to pay this huge bill anymore. That's one of the issues that's coming out of this NEPA rewrite. And I'll be going to some workshops on this in DC when I go back for the legislative session in Washington, DC in March.
Good.
So looking for more good stuff out of that, and
Might affect our coal, too.
it certainly may.
Good.
And that's all I've got.
Okay. Commissioner Milne.
Yeah, so pretty much all I have is, the library did get the quotes back, or the quotes or bids back for the school, or the
Bookmobile.
bookmobile, not school bus, but bookmobile. And one didn't even come back. No, they didn't, no response, no nothing. Two came back. They're a little pricey, but the interesting thing was that the bookmobile, as it's designed now, what we're familiar with, they don't make that anymore. And so it may look a whole lot different than what is driving around the streets now. The other problem was one of them, the bookmobile they proposed won't fit in the current garage. So they're going to have to discount that one as well. So it looks like it's down to one. Unfortunately, because of the length requirements, it's going to the pricier bid out, so. So far. That's all I've got.
Okay. Commissioner Bertoglio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've attended quite a number of meetings, but most of them, really nothing is moving forward from the Rec Board or Regional Water, Public Safety Communication Commission. One of the things that came out of the Public Safety Communication Commission meeting that I've got to follow up on is the governor's proposal to fund the WildLink system based on a 70-30 split rather than a 60-40. Local governments paying the higher portion. And the governor's come in and wants to move it to 70-30 from the 60-40. The individuals within YDOT both indicated that the 60-40 is more consistent with the usage and volume. But apparently one of the former YDOT budget individuals has jumped over to the governor's side and is adamant that that's not correct and it's a 70-30 split. So I'm going to be following up on that. We had a WCCA legislative conference call on Friday. As of Friday, there were 55 House bills, 1 joint committee, and 41 Senate bills filed. Of that, 15 of them are 15 House and 10 Senate files are have an impact or affect counties, ranging anywhere from the toll on I-80, solar power regs, executive sessions allowing for security discussions. The direct distribution, there was some talk about for local governments dropping that, but apparently that discussion was very short. It came back up. The money's still going to come out of Lease for us, so as long as there's money there. They added, they forwarded a recommendation to add an additional $1 million for NERPA. I'm not exactly sure why, but that came through. The governor's recommendation for this information update, the RIS system, whatever that acronym stands for, was $48 million from the governor, and the JAC just totally cut that out. Didn't want anything to do with that. Mentioned WildLink. The interesting thing there is the way they want to fund that is out of the Mineral Royalty Grant Program or Fund. There once was 20-some million in there, but the legislature's already rated it and pulled money out of that, and so it's down to where we can probably get through the next biennium with the funding coming for WildLink, coming directly out of that. But after that point, we're still in the battle of trying to come up with a permanent revenue stream. The JAC is talking about having to do something with the industrial siding funds and sucking those back into the state's general fund. I don't know exactly. They're going to have a conversation on that on February 7th. The lodging tax is back under consideration. I would defer to Commissioner Coffin, but it sounds like it actually hurts us because it limits. The way it was sounding, it would allow us to get only 3% lodging tax and not the full 4%, but I don't know if that's true. And they're making some pretty good movement forward on the mineral bankruptcy issue.
No.
That's all I have.
Okay, anything else?
Mr. Chairman, can I speak to that quickly? So it actually would keep us pretty whole right now in Natrona County. So 3% would actually go to fund the State Office of Tourism, which right now is on the general fund. 2%, which right now 4% goes to the voters every 4 years to fund our tourism office. 2% would be tucked in with that 3% to the state office, so it would be legislative initiative. And then potentially either 2% would go to the voters or 2% would go to a commission or an overarching body for that approval. So a lot to be seen as we go through session, but the tourism industry is watching that. But no detriment necessarily to Natrona, but it's getting the Office of Tourism off the general fund. That's the attempt.
They wanted to do that for a while. Well, the legislature will be in session, and so we're going to have to be vigilant.
Mr. Chairman, Senate File 25 is the wind turbine storage issue that the governor vetoed last year. It's back up on in Senate File 25. That's a clear benefit to Natrona County to have that get through. So we may be pressed to step up and assist in that.
Okay. Yeah, and last year, I don't think we knew the ramifications of that when we talked about it down at WCCA. So that would provide jobs, and we'd make more on jobs than the taxes on the bill, on the tower, so. Okay. For my part, last time I had an airport board meeting here a week or so ago. And there is a move to have a wind farm out north of town. The airport board is, I would say, adamantly opposed to any wind towers 20 miles out. And then there's a possible solar farm in Natrona County. So I don't know how that's going to go. They're going to be at planning and zoning one of these days talking about it. So it could mean, the solar farm, I think, could mean $2.5 million a year in tax money, property tax money. So it's a big deal. And we could sure use it. The other thing they did, and they've completed, is the parking lot out there, and 1 cent money helped pay for that. They've completed the first phase of it. There's a little bit of wondering how that was because it was so late in the year when they got it done, but they're gonna go look at it again. But anyway, that was done. So for me, that's it. Anything else? Meeting adjourned.